Yeah, I had ordered Jigsaw Youth, which was the Bikini Kill zine, and I was full-blown Riot Grrrl. So Bratmobile, Bikini Kill, even bands like E010 were really important to me.
I loved E010 so much, yeah.
They saved my life in high school.
Yeah,
Like, if you have any angst, it's like they kind of took your anger and validated it, but also made everything so funny at the same time. So it was like, okay.
Welcome to another episode of This Broken Mixtape. I'm Jeff Wu. We are joined by my co-host, Justin Lee, and our special guest, hairstylist, Jenny McNamee. We talked to her about being introduced to music through her parents' vinyl collection, attending her first music festival with her mom, and how the Riot Grrrl feminist punk movement gave her the courage to come out of the closet. This episode was recorded live inside Corrado's barbershop in downtown Toronto. It was actually one of our first recorded interviews. Apologies for some of the ambient street noise. We were just off a major street on an unusually busy night. Let's go to the interview.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of This Broken Mixtape. We're here with my hairstylist, Jenny McNamee. And Jenny, you've been cutting my hair for about, I think, 4 months, maybe? Not that long.
It's a new one.
Yeah. I think prior to, and this is is it okay if I say the name?
Of course.
So this is at Corrado's, which is at Bathurst and Richmond. You guys should check it out. Really great stylist here. And it's not one of those barbershops where you go to where you feel like I'm not cool enough, which that's like actually a compliment, because I've been to a lot of barbershops and sometimes I'm like, this is too much for me. Like, people here are just way too cool. And it makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I came here and, like, everyone's so down to earth. And, like, one of the things that struck me right off the bat is, like, other than getting great haircuts, you and I just kind of hit it off just on, like, talking about music, which is why, like, I felt like this would be a great interview.
We'll see.
I can't remember what the first band we talked about, but I think we quickly found out that we have some similar taste in music, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what band it was either.
Yeah. I know we talked about Japanese Breakfast. We talked about Perfume Genius.
Yes. I think Japanese Breakfast might have been the first.
Yeah.
And shoegaze, perhaps, in general.
Right.
Yeah. And then my favorite conversation with you thus far was, what were your favorite albums growing up, embarrassing or otherwise?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's something that I love talking to people about. So let's go on to that. Like, what, growing up, did you grow up in Toronto?
I was born in Calgary. My whole family extended is from Toronto.
Okay. Wait, how come we've never talked about this? Like, I'm originally from Calgary, so I thought that would have...
It was like a work stint for my dad.
Okay.
I moved back when I was 3.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were out there for a little while.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, technically I'm Calgarian.
Right.
So that's cool.
Yeah, well, depending on who you ask.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
No, Calgary's a great city. I'm not going to shit on my own city. I love Calgary and I'm from there.
Yeah.
But... it's tough, like especially growing up in like the 80s and 90s, like there's not a whole lot of music there, and it's like I kind of listen to like just like show wise, we just go to a lot of punk shows. I think. Yeah. So what were sort of like? First of all, how did you get into music? Was it more about your like parents bringing you like their record collection and playing certain albums, or?
It was definitely. My parents are both big rockers. Like, my mom was heavy into glam rock. She wore like velvet and rhinestones and went to every Bowie show and T-Rex and all of it. And my dad was super classic rock, and he never actually evolved out of it. So there was a lot of Clapton, Bowie, lots of glam, and the biggest one was probably Q107.
Okay.
It was like a steady radio station. So we moved back to Toronto and ended up moving to the suburbs to Aurora in order for my parents to afford a house at the time. And we grew up on this crescent that was like every neighbor had a mullet, a Firebird, Q107 filled the air. So it was just Aerosmith, Def Leppard, Glass Tiger, a lot of hair stuff at that time because this was like late 80s, early 90s. So it was like heavy rock and roll from both of my parents' sides. Yeah.
Okay. So that, like, you were exposed to music at a pretty early age.
Very early, yeah.
Was there anything, like, were there certain bands that you gravitated towards that you liked more than others?
Definitely. I think I actually was weirdly rebelling against my parents' classic rock tendencies. I was super into new wave as a kid.
Okay.
My favorite song was probably, I mean, this is debatable whether it's new wave, but it was Dire Straits' Money for Nothing on repeat. Yeah. Yeah, which is actually so offensive when you go back and listen to it. I didn't know the F word was in that song. So I liked all the 80s stuff, like Go-Go's and You Spin Me Right Round and that kind of MTV Much Music, as the case was, kind of stuff, and really like, I kind of rebelled in that way. So it was definitely new wave.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you remember the first record that you spent your own money on, that you purchased?
Yeah, and it was totally peer pressure. It was MC Hammer.
Okay.
And I never listened to it.
You bought it and never listened to it?
No, it was pure pressure. It was like what everyone was buying, so that's what I saved up and bought.
Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him? That album?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the only good song on that one was Have You Seen Her?
Oh, great song.
That song is beautiful.
What's the sample? What's the name? It's like an old R&B group, but great song.
Yeah. That song, it was just that song on repeat.
Yeah.
I couldn't be bothered.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how about the next record that you bought that was actually by your own, choice?
That's tough. It actually gets a little bit clouded, but I think it must have been Bleach.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great first record.
Yeah, for sure. But it was also a mix. It was around that time that I also got like Jagged Little Pill.
Okay, sure.
Or TLC.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little
Crazy,
mix.
Sexy, Cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then actually this is kind of important to my music trajectory. My parents split up when I was about 10, and my mom really, really changed. She got really contemporary. She sort of started to really keep up with the times, and so she subscribed to Rolling Stone and Spin, and she bought In Utero, and she bought all these Guns N' Roses albums, and she,
cool mom.
Red Hot Chili Pepper. And she had a cool boyfriend right away, and he made her a mixtape that actually changed my life, and it had Marianne Faithfull, it had PJ Harvey, it had Bjork, it had Hole. It was like a lot of strong female artists, and I stole the mixtape.
Okay.
Yeah, she was always hounding me to get it back. Yeah. So there's a lot of music. Yeah.
While we're actually on the subject of mixtapes, have you ever given or received?
Of course.
Okay. Can you name like a memorable experience?
There's definitely one that comes to mind. There are a few. I was really obsessed with mixtapes, and I love. I used to love to customize them. Like I would splice in lines from songs in between songs. But my best friend in high school, we were in 10th grade, and we actually were dating. Her and I had a relationship. And we made each other mixtapes, and I can't really so much remember mine, but I know that she was able to record onto a cassette using a VCR, so she could put a VHS in, and she made me a mixtape that had movie clips throughout it. Mainly like Natural Born Killers, Heavenly Creatures, like all those it was a really scary, intense relationship. But it was the first time I ever heard like Sweet Jane by Cowboy Junkies. She would put a line, it would be like one PJ Harvey line or one, like if she would put in Pale Blue Eyes by Hole, but it would just be that chorus, Linger on Your Pale Blue Eyes, and then it would go into the next song. So it was all these like romantic clips, and then there'd be full songs, but it was wild. It would be entire lines from songs, and then it would go into the next thing. So she wanted to send like a specific message, and it was less about listen to what I'm into. It's a masterpiece.
At what stage of your relationship were you guys at this point?
I think it was probably about 6 months. So we had experienced a lot, as you do in high school. 6 months is a long time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
what was your initial reaction when you got this mixtape?
I think it was to run home and put it in my portable stereo right away immediately. And I probably didn't stop listening to it. Like, let's just say I didn't do homework. Actually, I never did homework. Yeah.
Did you reciprocate with your own mixtape?
I did, but I didn't have the same technology. Sure. And mine came first. So.
Oh, you had made a mixtape for her before,
yeah.
And this was her. Okay. Mm-hmm. And what kind of stuff did you put on your mixtape for her?
You know what? I think it was right. It was right when trip hop was a big thing, and that was really sexy. And I was experimenting with pot, so that even enhanced. Like, if you listen to Tricky stoned,
sure,
come on.
There's no other way to listen to Tricky. I mean,
yeah. So I was deep in that. Okay. So it was like, beginning of 10th grade, Portishead, Tricky, Massive Attack, Bjork, of course. A little bit of British stuff too, like PJ or. I was always more of a Blur fan than an Oasis fan, and even more so Pulp, and then Elastica. Yeah.
Jeff is giving the thumbs up. Jeff's a huge Blur fan, but more so Blur. I mean, Pulp. Pulp is like his favorite.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like mixtapes are tricky now because obviously, first of all, no one makes a mixtape or a mix CD. It's all playlists or like, here, check out this YouTube link or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, I'm not going to shit on, like, the youth because that's where technology's at. But there's something really kind of great about, like, making somebody, like, spending all this time and making this, like, curated playlist, mm-hmm. Where they have to listen from start to finish, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's no other choice.
Yeah.
The choice would be to throw in the garbage if you really did not like that person. Yeah. But when you did make a mixtape for someone, was there always sort of like a romantic motive behind it, or was it just like, I want you to hear this music because I think you would enjoy it, or was it a little bit of both?
It was rarely platonic, I'll say that.
Sure.
Although that did happen every now and again. Like, I remember, I have like two examples. So I was going through in high school like a really like a local punk phase, and my favorite band then was Hood Rat, but they were around for a little bit. But anyway, I was just discovering all of this stuff, and so my next door neighbor and I were exchanging punk mixtapes. So it was all just track based. So it was so hard to get the records back then. There was a store called Who's Emma in Kensington Market, but when you're in high school, it was all like imported stuff. It was really expensive. So he kind of went to his friends, I kind of went to my friends, and it was that nice classic trade of almost like those music catalogs you used to get. So it's like, check, here's a taste of this, here's a taste of that. So we exchanged a few in that way. And then another one I did with my friend that was really fun was a Heartbreak mix CD. It was about 10 years ago, and it was like a challenge, like who made a sadder one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who won, and what was on that tape?
I'm pretty sure it was her.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't remember. What's that song? Ted Leo and the Farmers.
Yeah.
There was a really sad one by him. There was I Lost My Lion by Scout Niblet. That was a sad song. So much cat power. I think there was some Bonnie Prince Billy style stuff. Anyway, it was just devastating. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if it was based around themes, there were a few, but it was 9 out of 10 times it was romance, right?
Do you find that, like, I mean, while we're on the subject of, like, sort of sad music, I like to call it sad bastard music.
Totally.
Really, like...
That was the name of our CDs.
It was called Sad Bastard?
Sad Bastard, yeah.
Volume 1 through
Yeah, exactly,
20.
yeah.
I think the thing with sad music is that a lot of people, and, like, you know, people always coin the term, like, emo, they sort of attribute that title. But, I mean, like, I think it was, I can't remember who, it might have been Arcade Fire, Win Butler, in an interview said, you know, isn't all music emotional? That's kind of a silly title to put on things. But I find that a lot of what I listen to at home is like sad bastard music. And it's not because I'm like this super depressed person, but I find that that's just the music that I feel like has more soul and I gravitate towards.
Yeah.
And it's like, sure, like sometimes, you know, when you're walking down the street and like it's a bright, shiny day outside, it's great to listen to happy music. Yeah. But it's almost like sad music, just, it's such a comforting feeling. I don't know. Yeah,
agreed. I totally agree. Now, do you find that no matter what you're going through, it doesn't necessarily align with being happy or sad or having hard times or good times?
Yeah.
It's just...
Yeah. It's not a matter of like, it's like, let's say I'm in a great mood. It's not necessarily I want something to match that mood. I almost want the antithesis of it. So sometimes when I'm in like, you know, it's a Friday afternoon and I'm like, oh yeah, it's like the weekend. I don't know. I'm fine with listening to like something like Nick Cave or like, you know, like something super depressing, and it's like for certain people that would bum them out. But I don't think it does that for me. I think it does the opposite in a way.
Yeah. Well, I think I agree. I think it makes you feel more, and that's always good. And I pretty much feel the same way. Like if it triggers like, sad music doesn't have to be sad. And if to feel something from music I find it actually a little bit rare these days with how pop has gone and how like I'm at that age where I've sort of played out all my favorites. So it takes a little more to evoke something. And usually I agree, like usually it's sad stuff that does that.
Yeah. And I think that's like, so I've been having this conversation with like friends, you know, definitely a lot in the last couple of years, where I think that once you get to a certain age, and for some people it's like right after college or right after, say, like in your late 20s, and then other people it doesn't come until later. But at a certain point in your life, I think some people sort of give up on that sort of pursuit to find new music, right? They're just completely settled in whatever they listen to, their listening habits. I'll just go back to whatever I listened to, you know, like during college and, you know.
Oh, yeah, most people. Well, that's my parents, right? Like, my dad kind of plateaued, and with all due respect, kind of plateaued at that, like, that really good time.
Yeah. So then what does it take for, like, I mean, I think we're both similar in that we're still seeking new music in our 30s.
Yeah.
What does that take? Like, I mean, you know, I would say you would argue now that it's easier more than ever to find new music. But at the same time, it does still take a little bit of an effort. You still need to, like, say, oh, I'm going to listen to this podcast. I'm going to listen to this digital radio station. I'm going to listen to read this blog or whatever. Yeah. So what steps do you take in order to do it?
I think it's much harder these days. I think access is one thing, and the access is unlimited to the point of actually being overwhelmed. I find like it's so saturated, everything is at our fingertips, that I actually find it a lot harder to discover new music, because I think I speak for a lot of people that when I say that the internet has given me a sort of ADD, where if I hear about a band, I'm guilty of it. Like I'll fast forward a little bit on YouTube. Like I'll give one track a shot, and if that doesn't sell it for me, I'll look in the suggesteds. Like it's so much coming at you. Whereas I think years ago, it had these like kind of convenient parameters. And I think you and I talked about the catalogs that you used to get if you bought like K Records or Kill Rock Stars and you know, it would be a list of CDs that you could order, and it just really narrowed it down in this way. And I think that actually lent itself more to getting obsessed and more to listening to an entire album. It's tough. So the routes that I take, I'm lucky because I'm a hairstylist, so I get to ask people all the time, and it mostly comes from people. So it's still that human spontaneity. I can't look it up on Google. It's too much comes up. Yeah.
I think it's great to get like sort of recommendations from people in person, but it's also based on like how well do you trust this person's taste, right?
Oh, it backfires often.
Yeah. So I mean, like, let's say the average customer, like, let's say you don't know that person very well, and they're like a relatively new customer.
Yeah.
And you know, you're like, I was very surprised because I think I recommended a couple of bands, and in my mind, whenever I recommend anything, I don't expect anyone to actually like follow up on it.
Yeah.
And then I remember, like, you know, I can't remember which band it was, but
I think it was Lemon Twigs.
Yeah, Lemon Twigs.
Those guys are
and you know,
insane.
like the next time I came back, which was like 3 weeks later, because I usually get my hair cut every 3 weeks, you had like actually brought it up and said, "Oh, I really like them," and I was like, "Wow, like no one does that really." Like,
I think I'm a Luddite, honestly. Yeah. And you know what else? Record stores. Like, there is that, I still like really appreciate that analog sort of, it's like that video store thing where you get to look at the covers.
What's your go-to record store in Toronto?
It's probably Rotate this. And secondly is probably Sonic Boom. How about you?
I like both those places.
Yeah.
In terms of like a smaller record store that's on the other side of town, so it's inconvenient for me.
Yeah.
But every time I go there, I really love it. Tiny record store, which is like Queen and just Degrassi or beyond.
Oh,
Degrassi,
yeah,
actually.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
I'll
like
have to go
it's
there,
just run out of like a small little shop, like a vintage store right next door, but really well curated, and like even though their selection isn't as big as Sonic Boom or Rotate, the people there are great, and I don't know, I really like that place a lot.
Yeah, I've passed it many times. I should go in. Yeah. Yeah.
So do you buy vinyl or?
I do buy vinyl. Yeah.
How big is your record collection?
It's not huge. It's probably 200. It's pretty scaled down.
That's respectable though, you know.
Thanks. It's scaled down, and it's also scattered across the city, having lived with many roommates.
Sure.
Over the years.
Vinyl is like, you know, everyone in this room can attest to like how it's worth it, I think, in the long run, but like it takes a lot of work. I mean, especially when you're moving. You know, nobody wants to move their vinyl collection. That's
it's the worst.
It is. Yeah. It's really terrible, you know.
Yeah.
I've bought so many plastic containers just to like for the transporting, and it's terrible.
Yeah, it is. And some I've lost a few to that, but also just like I'm a sucker for lending them out.
Sure.
Yeah. But that's okay.
I think because it definitely means something. Like if you're gonna lend out like a record versus like, you know, like, I don't know, the digital alternative would just be to send somebody a link or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to actually hopefully take the time to listen to that record, and, you know, even if it's something that on first listen they don't get right away, then they'll probably listen to it again, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. There's, it's a valuable object. Yeah.
So I think, like, the last time I was here, we were talking about sort of, and, you know, some people call it guilty pleasure. I think today's like climate and music climate, there's little judgment involving pop music, because you look at all the indie blogs and they cover like pop music now.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Pitchfork covers like, you know, they just gave Lord an 8.5 I think for the new record, and rightfully so, because I was going to tell you, like,
is it great?
It's incredible. It's like it's all I've been listening to for the last week.
Yeah.
So good. But I think the last time we talked about Katy Perry's new album, and specifically Swish Swish.
Swish Swish. Yeah.
Did you get a chance to listen to the rest of the record? Or
I have not.
Okay.
It's just a lot of swish.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing, that record.
Yeah.
You might be better off just sticking to Swish Swish.
Okay, good. You know what? No, I've never been you know, Katy Perry, just for some reason, she's the one I have the aversion to.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
I think there's something about her that's a little like I can't get on board with, right?
I'm not convinced that she's real.
Yeah, no,
like that
sure.
she's. I mean, like human.
Yeah,
like I think she's She's our first AI pop star. It wouldn't surprise me.
Right.
Cyborg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's something weird about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
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 What's
but,
during like the 80s and 90s when you're growing up? Which
Yeah.
pop star did you really sort of take a liking to? Would you say of that sort of caliber?
Which pop star? 90s was okay. It was probably Mariah for sure. Pop star. Never a big Madonna fan. I have to admit. I mean, I respect her beyond words, but I didn't, you know, collect all the albums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely Mariah Carey, and then like Salt and Peppa, TLC.
Mm-hmm.
But big pop star, I would have to say Cher.
Cher, okay.
Yeah, definitely. She always reinvents, and she's just transcendent. And
yeah,
I love her alto, and I love her movies, and yeah.
Is it bad that I've never seen a Cher movie? I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of Mermaids when it's on TV.
Oh, that's my favorite. Yeah.
I've seen maybe bits and pieces of Moonstruck. I don't think I can think of an entire Cher movie that I've seen.
Oh, she's incredible. Yeah.
What's like the first?
Mask.
Oh yeah, actually I have seen Mask.
Witches of Eastwick.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, that's true. I have seen those too. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I forgot that she was in those.
Mask is like so special. There was no movie like that.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, she's kind of a bad mom, but I still love her. Much like Mermaids, I guess. Yeah, no, I really like her movies, and I really, really like her music.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird because she's not really of my time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she sort of made that comeback, I was like a little bit too old for it when she kind of like pop much music.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's my number one.
So I know while you're working, at least during like business hours, somebody else chooses the music, right? Like it's just, is it usually like the radio or Adam's Mixtape or like...
Sometimes it's Adam's Mixtape.
Yeah. But
it's often Jazz FM.
Right, Jazz FM.
Which is, I think we choose it because it's so not offensive at all. Yeah. It sort of suits the old timiness of this 66-year-old barbershop.
Yep.
And I do get a little nervous around playing my own music at work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even when you have like outside hours or whatever, and you're doing your own thing, like
I will. Yeah. Okay.
So what kind of stuff would you play? Like say.
To work to in a cutting hair, I like things like Angel Olsen or Always or Dum Dum Girls or Jenny Lewis, just kind of like a little bit like garagey alt country, just nice.
I love all that stuff.
Yeah,
You should just play that during like regular office
I know,
hours.
I totally should. I just don't want to get sick of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's always the risk, right? If you listen to stuff you love all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not that I don't love my job, but I don't want it to turn into work music. I'm always a little careful about that.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff, because it's just soft and backgroundy. Sometimes, a little bit of Jesus and Mary Chain or like sexy stuff, like that too is really nice to cut hair to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you this before, I forgot, but backtracking. What was your first concert?
Okay, my first concert was New Kids on the Block.
Okay.
And
I just went to that yesterday. Was it, what's today? Today's Thursday. Yeah, yesterday.
No way.
I mean, I didn't go for New Kids, but a friend of mine had, bought me a free ticket, as a belated birthday present, and Boyz II Men and Paula Abdul were opening. So it was like, I was in for Boyz II Men, because when I was 12 years old, they were my favorite group.
Yeah.
And we stayed for probably 4 New Kids songs, and I was like, I think I've had enough of these grown men doing these amateur moves, right?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's the best.
Okay, so
What a
New Kids
present.
on the Block,
Yeah.
this would be like early 90s, obviously. Right?
Early 90s,
Yeah.
but I barely count it because it wasn't really a concert so much as it was an institution.
Okay.
It was kind of like what you did. It was like a pilgrimage,
Yeah.
like a cult meeting,
Mm-hmm. That's kind of
like a televangelist, like
that's how it felt.
Beatlemania.
That's how it felt. It felt very cultish.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of women in their 40s and 50s wearing actually not even like NKOTB like merch, but like their like own handmade, customized merch.
Wow.
Yeah, like
that's cool.
and like in big groups, and you could tell this is not the first NKOTB's show they've seen. This is probably at least their third or fourth show.
Yeah, it's a religion, man.
Yeah, it was a weird feeling, and I'll say this. I mean, so Boyz II Men was first. They did maybe like 10 songs. Paula Abdul's next, and she only did half of those songs.
Yeah,
maybe like 5-6 songs, and one, I think she was lip syncing for most of the show, and it was like honestly, it was one of the strangest shows I've ever seen because it was almost like this 1/3 Vegas act. There was kind of like these like sort of intros, these dance and percussion intros where it was almost like Stomp or like Blue Man Group, where they were playing like bucket drums and like it's like what is happening right now, and then like the other like third was like maybe like sort of like a motivational like Tony Robbins type of thing where she like recounted stories. She talked about how she auditioned for the Laker Girls and how she brought 2 extra sets of clothing and a bag to change into in the locker room or in the washroom because she wanted to get like another 2 tries in there to
disguise herself?
To disguise herself because she said the first time she tried she was cut right away without even being able to perform, and she went into the washroom and then like changed, and then they're like, oh, and she went under a different name.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I was like, good for you, Paula
Abdul,
but I'm like, also, why do I need to know this? Like, and the whole time she was talking, my friend was like, she sounds like a Disney princess. Like she's the way she was speaking. It was really weird. Like
all enchanted like?
Yeah. And I was like, it's one thing that she lip syncs like for her songs, but then I feel like she was lip syncing when she was talking. She didn't sound like she was talking like in real time. It was bizarre. And then she did for me like the sort of highlight was Rush Rush, which is probably the greatest. Well, it's definitely the greatest Paula Abdul song.
Yeah.
But also, like, I would put that song up against a lot of songs today, and I'm like, that song...
Cold Hearted Snake is pretty good.
That's a good song, but Rush Rush is
Agreed.
Such a great song. Yeah. Anyway, like, weird show. Boyz II Men were great, though. I'd never seen them before.
Yeah.
But, yeah, when NKOTB went on, I was like, this is...
So they were last...
They were the headliners, right? And they played, we only stayed for like 3 or 4 songs, but I think they played for a solid hour and a half. Yeah.
Wow.
Were you a big fan when you saw them, or?
No, it was more, totally. I was like, Donnie, like, I like told all my friends, he winked at me, like it was this web of lies.
Yeah. This goes along with your first CD purchase, when you, right? You're like, I guess like MC Hammer. Yeah.
Same time, right?
Okay.
It was kind of, there were so many like crazy new phenomenons going on that kids were just, that really did cater to kids. This is like the teen beat time after all, right? Like, I had the boy collage just like all my friends. So yeah, when it came to New Kids, it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't consider it my first concert officially because there wasn't much musicianship to it. It was something else entirely. Yeah. Yeah. So my first concert was a rock festival that was 3 days that I went to with my mom.
Oh, wow. Okay. Which one?
It was called Eden Fest.
Okay.
And she was a little bit old for it, and I was a little bit young for it. And we were camping out with like college people at this crazy 3-day music festival. So we saw The Cure. We saw, I think it was Jane's Addiction or Perry Farrell. I'm not sure if it was his solo. The Hip, which was huge. There were 2 stages. I saw 7 Year Bitch, which was like an all-girl rock band from the time, and that really kind of changed my life. And
How old were you at this time?
13.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I was 13 and my mom was 38.
Okay.
So we were like this odd couple going through it. Yeah. And like I'd never smelled marijuana before. Like it was one of those. It was like she's there with her kid. It was great. It was amazing. So that was my accompanied concert. So that's a big one. That's 3 days. And there was actually a riot at the end because the headliner never showed up.
Who was the headliner?
The rumor was Smashing Pumpkins, Red Hot Chili Peppers, like big bands, and they didn't deliver, and people were like lighting tires on fire. It was at a racetrack. Looting.
This is in
What
Barrie?
year is this?
What year was it?
Yeah.
It was I guess it was like 95.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that festival never happened again. That was a one-off. So, but it was cool. It was cool. And there weren't that many festivals back then, so it was really novel.
Mm.
But my first unattended concert was Veruca Salt. And that was,
Yes.
that was
Jeff loves
the
Veruca
best.
Salt, as do I. I've never seen them live before.
That was the best. And I just loved that band. My hobby was to just go to the park, swing on a swing, listen to 8 Arms to Hold You, or American Thighs for that matter, but mostly 8 Arms to Hold You, and swing for like hours. Just flip the tape in the Walkman and keep going. It was the most meditative. Like they really wail too.
Yeah,
They're a
great.
good band.
I caught a water bottle at the concert. She threw it. Caught it at the end. I think I super crushed it.
Oh my
It's
god.
awesome.
Yeah, like they're so underrated, I think.
Yeah, and they're good.
Yeah.
Live, it's intense.
Yeah.
It's
It's
yeah.
more polished.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
more polished for
Mhm.
sure,
But it's more diverse too. Like the songs, there's a big range on 8 Arms to Hold You,
Mhm.
I think, which is nice. Yeah, great record.
yeah,
Still holds up if you ask me.
for sure.
Yeah. So that was a big deal. That was a get there early. We're 14 years old, get their autographs kind of
Yeah.
show. It was amazing.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So growing up, like, I mean, I think like music is, it's something that's like kind of a big part of your adolescence and early adulthood. And I feel like I think we discover more about ourselves through music that we listen to and that we're sort of exposed to. If you don't mind me asking, like, at what age did you come out?
15. It would have been when I had that first amazing mixtape girlfriend.
Okay.
That wasn't really official. Like I kind of got away with it for a couple of years. So it depends on if you mean to my parents or to my friends.
Okay.
My friends, it was 15. Yeah, because I had a girlfriend and she was 2 years older, but I was really proud of it.
Mhm.
And then it was a few years after that I told my parents, who were pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Were there any
So
albums?
that helped.
Yeah.
To
Were there
be
any
with someone.
specific albums or like artists that you that sort of helped give you sort of, that's extra that courage to actually be like, okay, this is who I am.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. For me, like, okay, so I moved to Aurora, and much like I think Calgary, it was like a Lions Club teenage punk band kind of scene, like punk bands at the skate park or Battle of the Bands, or like literally the Aurora Lions Club hall with all boy punk bands. And I liked it, but it got I started to feel a little backlash from it. And I was getting into Riot Grrrl, and I was reading, I had a zine. I was like really into feminist zines. I was kind of trading with people in the Pacific Northwest for the most part. I had ordered Jigsaw Youth, which was the Bikini Kill zine, and I was full blown Riot Grrrl. So Routmobile, Bikini Kill, even bands like E010 were really important to me.
I loved L7 so much, yeah.
They were like, they saved my life in high school.
Yeah.
But like, if you have any angst, it's like they made they kind of took your anger and validated it, but also made everything so funny at the same time. So it was like, okay, I love L7, yeah. And I was so obviously queer because I had L7 like painted on my backpack in white out, and anyway, so it was bands like that. It was like all these all-girl rock bands. I wasn't much of an Go Girls, Ani DeFranco kind of person. I never listened to any of those bands, but yeah, like all the like female fronted punk, even like old stuff, X-Ray Specs I really liked. So yeah, it was just like tough Riot Grrrl. I was so lucky. It was a little after that movement, but I was so lucky to have access to it because yeah, I was like hardcore feminist, hardcore Riot Grrrl. Yeah. And I tried to have bands, but it was, we were really outnumbered. So at least I had all that great stuff to listen to. Sure. Yeah. So yeah, that was like grade 10 was when I started I kind of came out and I started listening to all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an explosive time. Yeah. So, and I always kind of hope that Riot Grrrl will have a revival. Yeah, Britpop as well, for sure. But like, it would be nice if music got a little more political again in that way. Yeah. I think there's still some struggles. Yeah. And other genres are taking that on now, and I think that's really good. But things are so cyclical, and we're kind of seeing styles repeat themselves. And I think it would be really great if some of that came back for our young boys and girls.
Sure.
Yeah.
What would you say is like the most overrated subgenre of music, like in the last 20, 30 years?
Rock rap.
Okay. Yes.
Good answer.
Rock rap.
Yeah.
Sucks.
I would say, okay, so yeah, for sure that, but also like, I mean, I'm not a fan of reggaeton either. Like, reggaeton's probably one of the most annoying things I've ever heard, but I don't know, that's personal choice.
Oh man, I cannot dance to that.
I think that's a good note to leave this off on. Thank you so much. Our guest for this episode is Jenny, and she is my hairstylist at Corrado's. You guys should all come to Corrado's. It's at Bathurst and Richmond. And I mean, you can just talk about music all day with Jenny. It's and get a great haircut while you're at it. Thank you so much,
Thanks
Jenny.
so much for having me, Justin.
Yeah.
That's it for this episode of This Broken Mixtape. Thank you for listening. If you like what we do, please be sure to subscribe, share, and rate our podcast. Also, you can find some of our episode-related Spotify playlists as well as other related goodies on our website, thisbrokenmixtape.com. We hope to see you next week, where we'll be joined by Toronto lo-fi indie trio, TV Sets. Until next time.